We're going to start the Horry County Solid Waste Authority's regular meeting Tuesday, January 23rd, 2018. I will call this meeting to order. The invocation will be by Mr. Michael Hughes, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be Bo Ives.
We take a minute just to bow our head, please. Father, we want to just take a minute to thank you for bringing us safely through another year. We ask that you go with us to give us wisdom and guidance as we move into a new year to continue serving the citizens of Horry County. We also ask a special blessing on the solid waste staff and the board. These and all other blessings we ask in your name. Amen.
Amen.
You please stand.
And face the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we need an approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion?
We
Second?
have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The approval of the agenda is met. We need to approve the minutes of December 7th, 2017, regular meeting.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes have been approved. We do not have any public input, so we will go into our departmental reports and updates, and the first will be recycling and corporate affairs.
Good evening.
Hello. Hello.
Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year.
Yay. Haven't seen y'all since last year. How about that?
Wow.
It's been a day or two.
My report begins on page 12. I'm going to begin with an update on Winter Storm Grayson, as it was called, that affected our area on January 3rd, 4th, 5th, and almost the 6th also. In your packet, I have included some pictures of what our recycling centers look like. We were, on the 3rd, we did do abbreviated hours at the recycling centers. We closed those at 1, with the exception of 3 that closed at 12 because of weather conditions. All facilities were closed that Thursday, again, because of the weather. And then on Friday, we did open. We opened on a delayed schedule. We opened at 10 a.m., and we're able to open all of them at 10. We did find, though, when they did open, that there was still a significant amount of ice on the ground. So we took some proactive measures to avoid any slip falls, things of that nature, for our employees and or those customers visiting the centers. In your packet on the screen are just a couple of pictures of the measures we took to prevent that. That went real fast. And most customers were mindful of the conditions. And I'm pleased to report that we did not have any incidents during the course of that bad weather. So that is something that we are happy about. By that Sunday, most of the snow and ice had melted, so we were good to go. But special thanks to our staff. They work in all types of weather conditions and situations, and
They couldn't have anticipated the weather we've had, and they are really,
Yeah.
big thank you to them for
yeah, and
persevering.
they do that. The next report I'm going to give you is on our quarterly meeting. We held those last week. 71 of the 72 site attendants were in attendance last week. And it's our quarterly training is mostly what we do there. We talk about issues that have happened in between the quarters. We talk about new safety initiatives we might want them to begin. And we do a lot of review of operating procedures. At that meeting, we also recognized the Mount Olive Recycling Center as our recycling center of the quarter. And hopefully on your next payroll that you receive, there should be a flyer indicating them with their picture. Our caught green-handed recipient, oh wait, I'm going too fast. Statement of economic interest. Don't let me forget that favorite report that y'all like to fill out every year. In your packet are the standard directions on how to complete your statement of economic interest. It is due to be completed by March 31st, 12 noon on March 31st. If you have any need of assistance, please call Ms. Powell, and she would be more than happy to help you.
I've already made an appointment.
To help you.
Citizens, I just want to ask her to do it again like y'all.
Well, you get with Ms. Powell, and I'm sure she'll be more than happy to help you get that filled out. Just remember, there is a late filing penalty of $100 if your report is not in by 12 noon on the 31st.
Okay, that, definitely we need to do that, and make sure Nanette will help you through all of that if you don't understand it, because they're serious, about that. The other thing is, there's some information in here that you may need to talk to Nanette. I know they changed it last year, and changed a few things around, so if you're not aware of that, you might want to talk with her again on how that would be filled out. The other thing, I've had some people ask me, when we go to these conferences and do different things, and people sponsor those, and they have things, or they give away things, or then when we see people that come here and talk with us and give you hats and this, that, and the other, we need to know how to file that. Or if you get a lunch, does this go in with this, or is this just our economic, where we get monies from, or our families get monies from certain things? So I see you're making notes back there, so if there's any additional things that you feel that we as a board should put in this, let us know that, because we certainly want everything that comes through to be recorded. Thank you.
Now, our caught green-handed recipient for the month of December was Mr. Martin Robinson. He is a avid recycler at the Loris Recycling Center. He was very much excited. He said he tells all his friends, his neighbors, his family, y'all need to recycle. And so now he has a real good reason to tell them that this is what he got for recycling. So it was a nice early Christmas gift for him to be named the caught green-handed recipient for December.
Remind us what's in their goodie bag, or what they get.
What's in their goodie bag? They get, we've cordoned off a few of those magical green bins that we gave away last year. So we do have a green bin that they receive. They also receive a tote lunch bag, insulated bag, and inside the bag are all kinds of SWA goodies, cups, pens, pencils, flower seeds, gardening gloves, some of everything. But the extra special gift is a $25 gift card to Walmart. So they all like that part a lot too. So and then they get recognized in the paper during the next month.
That's right.
Just a couple of other little things. On page 93 in your packet, and that would be the very first page of the miscellaneous section, there's a listing of our board meetings for the year. They're, for the most part, the fourth Tuesday of every month, with the exception of November and December, and those are marked on that sheet. So just want to bring that to your attention. Also, Ms. Terry asked me to send a special hello and thank you to everyone. She is still home recuperating from her accident, and she just asked me to let you all know that she's well, she's bored out of her mind, and she's ready to come back to work. That's all I have, unless you have some questions. Thank you.
Okay, operations and planning.
Good evening, everybody.
Hello.
Mine begins on page 24. Our driver of the month this month is let's see, Nelson Nueves, I think is how he pronounces his name. He's with Waste Industries, Nelson Nueves. And he works with the guys real good up on solid waste up there. And Chris and the scale house felt he was well deserving to get our Driver of the Month award. So we were happy with that. Let's see, Recycler of the Quarter is Scott Cox from Trebor Industries. And the good thing about him, he really tries to target as many loads as he can to come in here for C&D recycling. And we had a really good month last month on wood chips and all, but he is their best driver as far as Trebor goes. And but he tells Steve, somehow they have some magical connection. He tells Steve how many loads it looks like he's got coming in that day. And so he was well deserving. Steve thought we ought to nominate him for C&D Recycler of the Quarter. So he got that for last quarter. Last thing is our landfill gas expansion. Going very well with one little exception, and that is getting the materials in here for the gas. Remember, Hurricane Harvey came through, and those materials, the HDPE pipe is made out in Houston. They've got plenty of pipe. Let me back up just a minute. They have done all the drilling. All the wells are drilled, and they've disbanded all the other wells that we weren't going to do. They are very, and Mr. Knight will tell you the same thing, they are super organized out there. They keep everything in neat rows and neat piles. They'll weld pipe from here to Granny's kitchen down the road, but they keep it all real neat and organized. Everything's out of the way. We never have to worry about when we're up there mobilized. We don't have to worry about hitting on anything. Yes, sir.
Question, Bill. In your report, you say that there were 43 vertical wells and that there were 14 old gas collectors that were no longer functional. Did you discover what the cause of the problems were?
They just get watered in, and after a while, the gas can't migrate through there. But those that were done that way, we're re-drilling right next to it. So we kind of disbanded those, but a new one's going in right
So by
beside it.
filling with water, the gas can't escape?
Right, and we've raised some of those over the years as the elevations went higher. And we did, the pipe that we used, it wasn't really the perforated, it was more of a solid that we got in there. So it's just between the settlement, watered in, and that's why we're going to this new system where we have just the leachate going in separate lines and the gas going in separate. So
Good, 'cause I
hopefully
hate
we
to
won't
see a
have that.
repetition of this. That's a lot.
Yes. So anyway, very organized, very neat group. Ms. Creech has talked about safety quite often up there. And if you look at the second picture, where they put this rebar around each well that they did, the reason they do that, they found in the past that once they drill it, you get some settlement there. And if somebody walked up sort of close to it, if it collapsed or something like that, they could get trapped in there. So these folks put these around every well, so if you walk up there to it, you've got some stable ground to get on right there. So that's not all. They're very good about keeping all their reflective wear on there, high visibility wear. You see them out there. The drivers operate very slow and very cautiously. We have been very impressed with the safety that they've demonstrated out there and the overall job that they've done. Last couple pictures, the drill rig. You can see, you know, when they were drilling, just wanted to share that with you. They had a good machine in here. They did, even though we were running a little bit behind because of some of the materials, they did bring a second drilling crew in here that finished up another job just to kind of expedite things here and get things moved along. The last picture, that's laying down the leachate lines right there. So they'll get all those done, and then hopefully our new date is actually substantial, is March 12th. So they had asked for that in the very beginning. We wouldn't give it all to them right then. We said, let's see what the manufacturer can do, and they provided documentation from the manufacturer, Tricon has, to our engineer. So we have verification that they just cannot get the pipe till then. And again, maybe could have gone with somebody else and spent $500,000 more, but 30 more days and save that money. For us, it was a no-brainer. Any questions?
No, I think you've done a good job, and I really do appreciate them putting that around there where people are walking on it, because whatever we do, we need for our employees to be safe in a working environment, and whatever you feel that we need to do that, I feel like we need to know that and make sure that that works out that way. Thank you.
And hats off to your staff, too, for dealing with the elements this past month.
Oh, these two
Yeah.
gentlemen right here, they made it happen right there, Wayne and Chris. And, yeah, they got in early, scraped the roads, plowed them, and trucks got in here, and very little issues with any of our customers.
Great. Terrific.
Good job.
Thank you. Finance and Administration?
Good evening.
Good evening.
The financial reports begin on page 40. As you see, these reports are reflected 6 months of the year, so we're halfway through our budget year. Just getting started on working on preparing our next year's budget, but we'll get into that. As you can see, we should be at, like I said, around 50% of budget. Solid waste is above budget by 51.95% of budget. Mixed construction is at 82.2% of budget, well above where we had anticipated. And our yard waste is just slightly below at 48.76% of budget. As you can see, our actual tipping fees over last year, we're seeing about a 7.43% increase. And of course, like I said, again, that has to do in part to our tipping fee increase that we implemented this year. As you can see, the recyclable sales are currently at 59.18% of budget, so they're also a good bit ahead of budget. Our expenses, our revenue and expenses for the C&D processing facility, as you can see, our revenue year-to-date is $149,184.98, with our expenses being $267,127.42. And that's running in a deficit of $117,942.44. But as you can see, it's also saved 33.36 days of landfill airspace, which is quite a savings. The materials recycling facility, along with the collection and hauling program, their revenue year-to-date is $3,088,872.13, with their expenses being $2,805,249.01. So they're actually running, of course, in the black to the tune of $283,623.12. And on top of that, have saved 29.14 days of landfill airspace. So they continue to move in the right direction. Turn over to our income statement on page 42. As you can see, this month we did have expenses over revenue, which is typically what we do see the month of December. Like I said, we're continuing to be open and operating. Like I said, a lot of times we can't get the sales out from the MRF or different places because the ports are closed. So we tend to run a little bit in the negative during the month of December. You'll see it pick right back up, hopefully, in January. But as you can see, for the month, revenue was under expenses by $20,152.89. But year-to-date, we continue to be in the positive, of course, with revenue over expenses of $2,131,664.64. You can also see on here our revenue is running at 56.84% of budget. So it's well ahead, of course, where we anticipated, with our expenses only being at 48.13% of budget. So we are maintaining those below budget. Staff continuing to watch their expenses and maintaining those below our budgeted figures. Going to also turn over to take a look at the MRF update, which is on page 54. And like I said, as you can see here, the tonnage sold for the month was 2,340.63 tons. That is down about 100 tons from last month. So as I said, that's, like I said, part of it, like I said, the ports are usually closed a few days during the holidays where we're continuing to be open operating. The price was also down. The average price was down a little bit from last month at $170.72 this month. Last month it was $174.61. So it is down just a little bit. And I'm sure Mike will kind of get into where he anticipates that going. Bringing the revenue for the month of October of $399,586.07. We did bring in almost the exact same tonnage this month at 4,079.98 tons. Last month, the incoming tonnage was 4,064 tons. So we were almost ton for ton. And the funny thing is that the SWA and the Charleston tonnage was the same weight, almost
Yeah,
exactly
it
the
was
same.
odd. I thought there was a typo.
Exactly. I did the same thing. I went back and looked again to make sure, but it was right on the mark. We did have a little bit of cost share, as you can see, $3,178.58, because we did fall below that threshold. So the total revenue for the month was $396,407.49, with our expenses being $448,846.26. So our expenses were over revenue by $52,438.77. As you can see, year-to-date, though, we are continuing to have our revenue over expenses for $518,244.81. So they're still continuing to do quite a good job over there at the MRF. Like I said, and I know Mike will kind of get into where he sees the trends going, but just wanted to give you an update on the figures. Do you have any questions on the financials?
I wanted to ask you, we're still sticking to,
Mr. Gray, you need to speak into your mic.
sorry,
Uh,
I'm old. We're still sticking to the provision that Danny put in the new contract that Charleston pays for all of our dregs, right?
All of their drags, yes, sir. All their rejects are going back to Charleston. Only the 14.5% of our material is going into our landfill.
Okay, so we're not putting any of body's material in there except our own.
That's exactly right, yes, sir.
We were giving them 14%, but they're not getting that anymore.
Well, we were putting a percentage of theirs into ours, but we're not anymore at all. If you see down at the bottom, or as you can see, like I said, there was 921.73 tons that was hauled back to Charleston, which is their percentage of which is all of their rejects. Only 14.5%. And as you can see, it was up just a little bit this month. 16.33% actually went into the landfill. But like I said, Mike and them try to get it as close, and by the end of the year, they'll true it up and make sure it's an actual 14.5%. But 35.77% went back to Charleston. That was their
Well,
reject
nice
rate.
to know that we have that provision now, and also they wrote us a nice letter and said, thank you very much. Anyway, that's good.
Jay and I have a request.
Yes, sir.
At the next finance committee, if you could report on capital projects spent for the first half of the year.
Yes,
And
sir.
also equipment purchases.
Yes,
for
sir.
the first half of the year.
I will put that together for you.
And compare it with what we budgeted versus what we've spent, so we can see how we're tracking.
I sure will. I'll
Thank
add that
you.
on the agenda.
Thank you very much.
Also, I just want to say, we do not have any. We made up all of theirs by sending it out. We don't have 14% or any of Charleston's
That's
in the
correct.
landfill at all, period.
That's correct. By the end of last year, we had caught up.
And sent it out.
That's exactly
And
right.
now they take their own.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. The only other item I have tonight is, several years ago, we used to have a pre-budget workshop where we kind of threw out any ideas that the board may have that they'd like to see in our budget. And I know it's difficult to try to put together meetings sometimes, and so we kind of did away with that a couple of years ago. But I thought maybe tonight we could, excuse me, take a few minutes and discuss any items that the board would like to see either added to the budget, modified within the budget, taken out of the budget, anything that you'd like to see staff kind of take a look at. That way we're not coming to the actual workshop and trying to make changes to the budget at that time, because by that time usually we have a lot of it put together, the meat put together. Not that we can't make changes, of course we can, but I thought this would give you the opportunity to kind of give staff, like I said, just some direction. We're getting ready. They've already started working on their capital budgets, and I'm getting ready to send out their operating budgets. And I thought before they spend a lot of time and effort, if there's something that the board would like to see us do within our budget this year, just to get some feedback from you. I just threw out a few little programs here that maybe there's something that you'd like to see different added to it. I know at one time, Mr. Gray had mentioned, adding money to advertising, different things like that, and I thought this is the time that, if you have anything to kind of let us know. So I'm going to just kind of open it up for the board's discussion on anything they'd like to see within our budget this year.
I think that this is not directly related, but it certainly goes to attaboy to Ms. Bellamy, that I see these ads where's Estelle? She's back in the back. And they're very well produced. They're so much better than years ago. And I think I was watching one of the Clemson ball games, and here comes the garbage man, you know. They're good ads, and I just want to say that. And also, a personal point, did we ever get a date down for the F&A meeting?
I was gonna send that out this, tomorrow morning, but it's going to be February 20th at 10 a.m.
I tell you what, I feel sorry for you trying to schedule it like.
Well, everybody's busy, and the Horry County Treasurer will be at that meeting to give us an update on our investments.
Oh, great. We're ahead.
Sir?
The report is that we're ahead of budget on income, which is neat to see.
Mm-hmm.
We're almost at what we expected to get for the whole year.
Exactly, yes, sir.
Do any other board members have anything to request? And I'm sure that you may want to think about it
Exactly.
and call Jan or get back with her.
And that's
because-
perfectly fine. 'Cause like I said, I've got about another week before we're gonna be sending it out. It'll take the staff a couple of weeks to put things together, so we've got some time. So if there's anything that you think of, please feel free to email me, call any of the staff, and like I said, just let them know if there's something that you've thought about.
Well, I would like to say that a lot of the public and the different meetings that people have had, some of their complaints is they don't know what we're doing or didn't know. And we do spend quite a bit of money on advertising and education. And that still doesn't, excuse me, appear to be enough for the general public. I do think we need to look at our education because it seems that is helping us, not only with the children, but with their parents and with the schools. I think a lot of other people have asked that we do more recycling. There are a lot of people that have moved in here that do not understand why we don't have mandatory recycling like they do up north and in other states. I've been having requests on that, and just more information. And the other thing is, it still comes up every year, the bill that goes into Columbia, that really is against our home rule, trying to tell each locale that we cannot choose to ban plastic bags or cardboards or those kinds of things. And I would like to see our lobbyists be proactive, maybe in helping us educate the people in Columbia, because they don't seem to understand what it costs the cities and the county and the Solid Waste Authority. And I think it would be very detrimental for something like that to be passed. I think the mayor from Foley Beach actually addressed them at one time and said what it would cost us to continue picking this up. If you're going to ban something like that on the state level, then you need to pay us to pick up that trash and to pay us for what that cost is. So all of those things I'd like to be looked at in expanding and how we can expand those things and work with that on those levels.
We can do that.
As kind of a footnote, what's North Myrtle Beach's lobbyist name? Danny, I forget right at the moment.
Wayne Bean.
Yeah, I saw him at Johnny Jenritt's book signing. He's got a picture in there of you know who. Anyway, to me, in the years I've been here, the best thing that ever happened to us about preserving flow control was what is it, Danny, 26 counties got in there and brought their help in and had a big to-do up in, I remember being in the...
And the county association really involved in these legislative issues, and that's where a lot of the information is circulated.
I know that Wayne helped setting that up,
Yeah.
that meeting, because he was circling in the back and telling, okay, it's your turn to go, you know, that kind of thing. He's very effective.
In the last HDR meeting, when they were talking about being informed on the legislative level and so forth, their vote was for us as a Solid Waste Authority to keep them informed. So we're going to, for us as well as the cities and the county, we need to be informed on what's going on and to be proactive, in my opinion. Will that cost us a little bit more money? I think it probably will, but in the long run, in my opinion, it would be worth it.
Has the budget workshop been scheduled yet?
It has
Yep.
not. I was gonna,
Okay.
again, and with that, I'm looking somewhere around the 1st of March.
Okay.
Usually we try to do it that first week, and I'll send a couple dates out and see what works best for everyone. Okay, well, I appreciate it. Like I said, again, if you have any ideas, suggestions, thoughts, please feel free to contact us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Recycling services and special projects.
Good afternoon, or good night, or good evening, whichever one it is. A little bit about what's been going on at the MRF. We, with the holiday season, the port was closed, and with Christmas being on a Monday, last year it was on a Sunday, but it being on a Monday caused the ports to be closed even more. And so we didn't get a lot of material out. We had a lot of material left on the floor at the end of the month. Right good bit of tonnage, and we were able to get it out after the first of the month, but truck drivers took the week off after Thanksgiving, after Christmas, so they couldn't, nobody wanted to work, nobody could find trucks to get it out. So, but we were able to get it out after the first of the month, which we hope will show up a little bit in this month's numbers. Cardboard prices, fiber prices continue to drop. Last month it dropped around about $10 a ton on an average. China has, if you read any of the reports, they have set the standard for contamination at, they did it at 3%, and it's now at 5%, 0.5%, which is about 14 pounds per bale, which is not a lot of weight when you get to doing it. We are now doing audits on bales and giving that to our buyers, hoping that it'll increase the price, less contamination. We're doing a lot of things to try to satisfy those buyers to get the prices in. But we're still shipping to China, still shipping to Thailand, so it's still going overseas, and so we're getting the product out. It's just one of the biggest issues right now is truck drivers. They can't find trucking. We've had our buyers to buy it to call us and say, "Do y'all have any idea who we can hire?" And of course, we got a list of trucks that's rolled across our scales and their names, and we just send them those names and let them call who they can to try to get them in. But trucking is one of the biggest issues. Right now, we got about 15 loads of cardboard on the floor today, and they can't find trucking to get it out. So they called today, asked us if we have anybody that we knew that could haul. And that seems to be the biggest thing right now. But other than that, on the MRF, we did have, I think, is there another slide in there, Kendra? Yeah, we can. We put the new glass machine in, and if you want to turn around and look at it, that's what it looks like there as it comes out of the plant. And this is the new machine that y'all approved for us to buy in our capital budget this year. It's a brand new machine. They installed it in about 4 days. And we got a nice new machine here. It's a lot different than what the current one is. And this first bunker here is the sand coming out of it. I took this with my phone, so maybe it, but this is the sand coming out of the material coming out. It's good quality sand, and I'll show you that in just a minute. And then this time, right here's where the aggregate glass used to go, but we got a destoner and a magnet. And if you'll watch this magnet, well, it was running. There you go. This over here to the right is a destoner, and you'll see it on the back, but it's taking out staples and small pieces of metal, which we did have a issue with, and that's how there's real small pieces of metal like staples. It's even taking staples from paper out of it. And the glass is a good quality glass that's coming out of it, and I'm going to show you what it was and what it is now. Look at this. This is what the material was that was coming out of the old machine. This is what's coming out of the new machine.
Michael, you find, I know at one time they were talking about needles being a problem. Are you finding many needles
This machine here is taking it out.
Yeah, I said, but are you finding that?
Yeah, they're coming out. They're
Yeah.
coming out in the paper. We see them in the paper. They're actually coming out. This is the big paper coming out.
Right.
And then we got this. This is small paper. This is also where the needle's going. But what we found out about this machine was that it won't work without paper. So we were creating fans and stuff to try to get all the paper we could out of it. And so when we turned the fans on, it didn't work very well. When we turned the fans off and got all the paper in it, it worked very well. So it has to have the paper in it for the destoner to work properly. So it's pulling all that stuff out, and we got a good quality glass there and good clean glass. And I'm sure Bill and Wayne and them's glad because people's been bothering them to buy it. So we got it shipped out, but that's some good clean product there. And we do appreciate y'all putting it in our capital, allow us to buy it this year because it is working good.
Have we developed more of a market, or still waiting the word to get out?
Mr. Gray, before the machine got totally wore out, it was just about wore out. They gave us $25,000 for it. Sunoco bought it from them. So it ain't going back up yonder. Sunoco bought the old wore out machine. But before that, we were getting rid of our aggregate glass pretty well. We wasn't having a large problem. When we ran out, the girls were having problems because they were getting calls. They were always calling me, when you going to get the new machine in? When you getting the new machine in? And we have the new machine in and a good quality of glass, so we think the market will pick back up and be able to get rid of it like we were before.
Mike, the Horry County Public Works at one time when we started with this, they were going to use the glass, but as you recall, they were finding needles and so forth, and the glass was not clean, so they stopped using it. And I'm sure that you and Steve Gosnell have talked about, or you and David have talked about, maybe getting them back to start using the aggregate.
Yeah, we can definitely see if we haven't talked to them about it because we just got it running this week.
Right, okay.
And we're trying to make sure everything's up and working properly, but as soon as we can get it up and running good we just got started hauling it. We hauling about 13 tons of aggregate a day out of the plant into the at the landfill for them to sell, and about 20 tons a day of sand out per day that we're shipping out of the MRF.
How is the public, at one time, they were real hot on buying glass, and then it dropped off. Has that picked back up? Or
Well, it dropped off due to the quality of the material. Okay. As the machine got wore out, the quality got worse, and we couldn't get rid of the needles out of it, and we'd always get a call and stuff like this. So when we bid this thing, we bid it with the intent, told the buyer in the bid specs that we wanted to get the needles out of it. It has 2 separate magnets in it and a destoner is getting all that stuff out. And so we think the market will be real good again.
So it doesn't look like what's out front anymore. It looks like that.
If you would pass that jar right there to her. That's what it was, and that's what it is. That's come directly out of the machine with no preparation to it.
Okay.
So that is
Looks
good,
good.
clean quality glass.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah. Most of the MRFs, though, are not crushing glass anymore, I don't think. Are we one of the...
A lot of the upstate quit with it. All your private industry people have quit with it. I think you'll still see your public-owned facilities continue to take it. The state don't want you to take it out because they, it weighs a lot, so it's a lot for the recycling number.
So, I mean, it really is, there's a market out there for it if we can just furnish the clean material that they're asking for.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that you bid this piece of equipment here.
Right.
Road bids. For road beds, you talking about, Mike?
Beg your pardon?
Road beds, paving material, is that what you're saying the market is, as opposed to landscape?
Well, Horry County Public Works was using it in some of their projects, and they found that it was not a clean material, so they discontinued. But the public had been buying it and using it in landscaping and such as that.
So you think we should be able to get back into more?
Absolutely, with this kind of product here, right.
Good.
Mike, do you oversee the mixed construction tonnage that we collect?
No, sir, that's Bill.
That's Bill. I'm going to ask Bill some questions about that later, because it looks like some trends have changed over last year. Last year was rather remarkable, and I wanted to know about how much in the hole we are having lost C and D.
Yeah.
Are you tracking any of that?
I'm not
So
doing any of that.
Department two.
That's Bill's. I'm doing it.
There's been no activity in textiles. Is
That
there a
comes
market?
out, and we usually get those numbers, and that's Esther, but that usually comes in about once a year. We get those numbers, and that comes from the, any textiles that we get come from the centers. That's the center numbers that we get. So, and we ask for them to report every so often, and they'll report to us every so often, but that's a,
Murph isn't involved, that's not something you get
Right.
involved in.
I just, from being here, I know
You do
that,
the marketing?
the people that pick it up does the marketing for the textiles. They take them, sort them, whatever they want to do to them, bale them, send them to sell them to third world countries or whatever else they do with them, and the company picks it up. The county doesn't receive any, that I'm aware of, receive any money out of the textiles. And the company they put the box there at no cost, they pick it up at no cost, and then report to us, the tonnage numbers.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
I got a question while you're there. You did give us a report about your lighting for
That's
Murph
coming up.
facility. It's coming up, okay.
That'll be up under new business. I'm gonna be asking for something when it's under new business.
I saw that, and you'll go report your progress with that. No problem.
Thank you,
You
thank you.
want more money, is what you said.
Mr. Ives, I just wanted to point out, if you turn to page 46
Uh-huh,
under the financial reports,
uh-huh.
actually is a tonnage report. And as you can see, we had budgeted in mixed construction 63,000 tons this year. And as you can
Yes.
see, we're already at 53,000 for this year. We are slightly below last year. However, we had the storm last year. So it kind of construes the figures just a little bit. So as you can see, we are way ahead of where we anticipated. So we have not seen a tremendous loss at this time.
Good. And I saw a lot of site clearing debris. We've already reached our year's quota.
Exactly.
And we're halfway through the year. Is that because of building boom?
Exactly. Yes, sir. Like I said, that's where we're seeing a lot of that land clearing debris and stuff coming in. Yes, sir.
So we should see more debris coming because they're clearing more sites. There should be more construction.
That's right. And
coming.
what I do when I take a look at the budget for next year, I take a look at like the first 6 months of this year versus first 6 months of last year and the last 6 months of last year, and kind of get an average so we can determine exactly where we need to be. We will see some increases in that. And when I put together the revenue figures, you'll see some increases for mixed construction and for our land clearing.
Thank you, because I'd like to look at trends, and I see a couple of things that are now coming out because we have 6 months' activity to
Exactly.
review. Thank you.
Thank you.
Executive Director.
Thank you, ma'am. Mine, is on, page 65. I'd like to advise the board that the county has got a new project going that's shooting for year 2040. And Mr. Ives and, Ms. Creech are on that committee. And we will be participating in the public, meeting with a booth, an information booth set up for the public to answer questions or whatever. But we're really involved with that program. The update on Highway 90, our gentleman up the road was complaining again about litter. Bill and I sat down with the county, and we will now be cleaning, Highway 90 will be cleaned up twice a month. The county litter group will be doing it the first week, and we'll be doing it the third week. And this, it generally takes 2 or 3 days to do it, and we found out 2 weeks after the county did it, took us about a day to clean the road up, so I think we're going to find that, there's gonna be less flutter there to pick it up. It'll still be there, but, hopefully this twice a month's going to help out a great deal. Also, Mr. Gray spoke about the note from, Charleston County, Brantley Moody, who is a, Charleston County councilman. Wrote us a note on page 74 that, thanking us,
What is that name that's written there?
sir.
The name, I can't read it.
Brantley Moody.
Moody.
Yes. Another thing, the legislature is getting started back. I've talked to our lobbying group the last couple of days. The magistrate bill will be going to subcommittee tomorrow and full committee probably Thursday. And that's where the magistrate will be, kind of a mandate that they have to assign people rights to places to pick up litter on the highways. They're really, and Representative Johnson from Manor is pushing that. There's a true bottle bill in the stateside, S 819, which is gonna be interesting to watch. But our people are telling us that the energy issues are gonna be the biggest topics in Columbia, and was probably gonna take most of the work. But we will keep in touch with them and, see that, they tending to the business.
And then, are you coordinating with the Horry County guys that are doing the cleanup
Yes.
out there? One of the things you may want to point out to them, I noticed they ride those little four-wheeler things, and they're only picking up garbage that they can reach from that
Call it
seat.
Gator.
And I've stopped them several times and had to go over with them that they need to get off some of those things because they're not going to be able to reach all the trash. And it may help you when you come back behind them. A lot of that you're getting is stuff that they're leaving. So you may want to coordinate with them. I've had to talk, and I was going to ask you when it came who the person was there. So I'm glad to see that you're coordinating with them.
We are,
But you may want to talk to them about that because they're not getting all the litter that they can get.
well, as long as, hope that they get some of it. And we will.
But I've been on them by my cedar trees, so I stay on them. I watch them when they come through, and they do have to get off those four-wheelers and go out there and get the trash, because they came through last week. And I just didn't have the time to go back and run them down. So I picked up a trash bag full of my own self that they left in the ditch. But they're not going to get off those things.
They're very conscientious,
Yeah.
and they will respond to you if
Yeah.
you request.
Are those prisoners?
I don't know. I don't know.
Horry
where.
County now has a litter control
Yeah. I don't think so.
department that is under Public Works.
Supervision is probably full-time employees, and a lot of the pickers are temp labor, just
That's
like
right.
we use.
That's right. I have noticed, not as closely as you did, but, Mike, but I see those collection crews and the big orange things. Say, be careful, and it's such a different thing. I've spoke openly about how well the storm sewer people do and keep clearing the ditches, and mowing the grass on the shoulders. But these trash pickup people that y'all were talking about, they're not there yet, obviously. And I'm surprised when you said what you said. Anyway, good
They
Mm-hmm.
man.
coordinate closely with the crews that are cutting the grass.
Yeah.
So that it's picked up before they cut to protect the equipment.
Yeah, but
And they-
that's gonna save a lot, because if you cut that grass, with those garbage bags, I counted 5 today, when I came home, of garbage bags laying in the ditch. Now, I'm not sure where they're coming from. Like I said last time, they're not all coming from the garbage trucks. A lot of people are dropping, And I think what you mentioned earlier about the education, I think that's an educational process, because a lot of people fly up and down that road and they just blow off. And so maybe they need tarps too, I don't know, but a lot of that is coming from individuals, and it's blowing off, and nobody stops and picks it up.
But then again, it is a state highway.
Yeah,
And I used to say, time and time again, the state will let you do as much as their work are you willing to do. So we're picking it up, 1 week, the county's picking it up 2 weeks later, and I don't see the state out there doing much picking up, so.
well,
we'll
don't get me wrong, I'm not faulting you guys. Like I said last time, you'd have to pick up every day to keep Highway 90 clean, because you got a bunch of traffic in the morning and in the afternoon. So if they come through and pick up at 1 o'clock, by 5 o'clock, you won't know that they've been through there. And that's an educational process from people that are coming in just throwing out trash.
Well, wait till International Drive gets in there, you're gonna really
You
get.
really see it.
It'll be like the little shortcut, East Cox Ferry Road. I don't know where all that stuff come from. They got more stuff down there than they
That's
can shake a
terrible.
stick in. I don't care when you go through there, it's a mess.
It is.
So maybe they won't do that down International Drive. It's gonna be nice and pretty. Maybe they'll keep it clean for a day.
Well, the bears will come out and eat the
They're
garbage.
not gonna eat the paper.
Does the state, it seems like I've seen some green signs, please don't litter. Does the state have anything like that that they might consider putting on Highway 90?
Well,
Not that I know that it would help it, but maybe it would remind people to please, we just have a problem, and it's not all the trash trucks, it's people.
They put up the Adopt a Highway, and
Yeah.
we do have a sign that the Solid Waste Authority has
Yeah.
adopted the highway.
Yeah, okay. Also, I think Mr. Ives reminded me that the litter index is going to go through again like you and I had done last year,
February 27th.
February
4 weeks from
27th. And
next Tuesday.
I asked him to send the paperwork, and
we'll do it again.
we'll do that again
Please, thank you.
this year.
We'll do it again. That's all I have.
Thank you for including the article on the state's program to secure your load. It's an excellent article. They have 3,000 tarps, so they'll be giving away, and we'll find out how we can get our share of them. And I talked to Esther before our meeting. Keep Horry County Beautiful would like to do some cursory observation at our collection centers where we handed out tarps to see if people are actually using them. It would be great if we could, for efficacy purposes, be able to tell people that it was productive and they're using them. Because what I anecdotally heard from the operators at our convenience centers where we were giving them out, is very few people secured their loads that were coming into the convenience centers. And we need to do something to educate those folks.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Committee reports, we do not have any. Old business, financial assurance revision.
Yes, I was so excited to get financial assurance in on time this year, had all the documentation I needed. And then I was contacted by Pete Stevens with DHEC. And they're looking at some things differently up there now with financial assurance, and they're changing some of their reporting requirements and things like that. In the past, what we've always been required to report is that we have financial assurance in place based on the percent of capacity used, for closure and post-closure. They've now changed that. They want to make sure that you have financial assurance in place to cover the total cost, not just what you've currently utilized, but the total cost. The way they look at it, you're permitted to use the total capacity. They anticipate that you will, and just want to be sure that you have the mechanisms in place to cover that. We do, of course, and like I said, and I just had to update the letter to them. I explained to them that I would bring it before the board before I sent it back to them. So as you can see, the main change in there is the closure and post-closure cost. As you can see, it went up to $30,859,854. That's based on the engineer's cost estimates. And of course, like I said, DHEC has approved those costs, and they're comfortable with this. So it's just a matter of me revising the letter and sending it into DHEC to be in compliance. And so I'm just asking the
Was
board's
the bonding
permission.
very expensive?
I'm sorry?
Was the increase in bonding very expensive?
We don't do it based on bonding, it's based on our revenue as, well, along with the county's revenue.
So it's just a pledge, it's not, we don't bond it?
Exactly, yes, sir. So I'm
It
just
was
asking,
kind of interesting where there was a floor being established.
I'm sorry,
or
sir?
A ceiling, I guess, being established of a ratio between, what was that ratio? Your total, your estimated total cost to finish everything and against current tonnage or current dollars.
Current revenue, right. You have to be under the
And,
43%.
They were requiring it be at least 20%, and ours was down to 14%.
Right, I think you have to be below 43%, and we're well below that.
Yeah, most of the time when you have to do that kind of thing, you don't have enough money, but we do.
Yes, sir.
That's good. Must have a good executive director. What do you think?
When Jan brought this to my attention, the first thing I thought, it was positive for the simple reason DHEC now is looking at everybody's guarantees on how much money they got. And I don't know what caused that, but I think maybe it was us getting involved a couple of years ago with it, but they're looking at it in a different way, and they want to make sure if somebody says they got it, they got it.
We had a
Exactly.
couple of failures in the Midlands, too.
Yeah, and that's a good thing for
Exactly.
us and everyone else.
But I am
Exactly.
surprised they aren't requiring bonding capacity to reflect.
That is one of the mechanisms, it's just not the one that we use. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Do you need a vote or anything?
Just board's approval to go ahead and send in the revised financial assurance letters.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Move that we grant the approval.
She said we didn't really need to
Fine.
make that, but that's okay. New business.
I wanted to talk a little bit about, if y'all remember correctly, back in, last year, we asked to be able to use some of the MRF contingency fund. We asked for two things we were looking at, one of them being air conditions for the rooms. And secondly, to be able to use some of that contingency money for lighting in the MRF. After we bid it, put it out to bid, did everything, come to find out it was about twice as what we had in the budget to do. I mean, we needed about twice as amount of money as we'd requested from y'all, and we didn't have nowhere to go get it, so we sort of backed up and repunted. Our maintenance manager, Richie, had been working diligent on trying to find us some kind of lighting, some kind of alternative, and we found one. And we have, hopefully by the next 30 days, the MRF will have all LED lights in it, on the tipping floor as well as the office space. So we're going from the fluorescent lighting that we had to LED lighting. And as you can see, if you'll turn around and look, back it up one if you would, Kendra. This is what this area looks like before the lighting at night. This is at 10 o'clock at night, and that's how dark it was in the facility. The only light you got over there shining is one of the machines that's working. Go again. This is what the tipping floor area looked like at night with the camera. Now, if you'll see this here area right here around this machine is real bright. We tested these lights prior to agreeing to put them in, and we had 4 lights put up, LED lights. So those lights shining around that piece of equipment is the new LED lights lighting that area up compared to what it was earlier. It was real dark. That's how much difference the lighting is just by those 4 lights. This is what it looks like now. It's nice, bright at night in there. I tell people it's so bright, it looks like daylight, the rats won't even come out.
It looks an awful lot more safe
Yeah.
for the employees than the one
But
before.
we didn't realize when we had 4 of these lights in, the first thing I came in on Monday, they did it on the weekend, came in on Monday morning, the first thing the supervisor said, I don't know what happened over the weekend, but it sure has got dark in here. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, it's bright over there where them lights is, but everywhere else is extremely more darker. And I just said, no, it's the same thing. It's what it's just you know, you see what it was and what it is now. And we did this for, remember, y'all gave us $175,000. We spent about $50,000 on our air conditioners, and thank God for those. I think that helped with our workforce because we can keep them warm for them 10-degree weather. They stay in warm, and in the summer when it's hot, they stay in at least comfortable. But we spent $50,000 putting these lights in compared to a price of over $300,000 we got on the bid.
And they'll be energy efficient as well.
And well, we were shooting for LED lights before, but what happened is we didn't have but one person to bid, and there's so much going on in the county that nobody else would bid. So we sort of maneuvered these things around and talked to some contractors, but we got it the whole building done for less than $50,000.
The previous proposals that you had, they required the conditioning of the space to be, found that the lights were temperamental about.
Yeah,
Great
temperature and all that, the amount of temperature, and we made sure these lights would work and all those things. We've been through,
How many bids did you finally come up with?
well, we had the one,
No, all right, yeah, that's right. The original
original bid,
was,
and then we worked with another contractor to do this one, and we got a $50,000 bid on this one.
now, but you use some of your people to help them do that, though,
But
correct?
the only thing we did is provide them equipment,
Okay,
the lifts to get them up in the air.
right.
But we'll still be spent less than $50,000 when it's done. Equipment includes rental equipment, everything.
Quite different.
Yeah, well, the other guy said he didn't really want it. He threw a number at it, but if we was willing to pay him $300,000, he'd take it.
It'd take,
That's pretty much what he told us. Yeah. And since we've had this, what I'm asking for tonight up under new business is, we all know, we've talked about putting dust fans in. And we can get 7, they originally recommended that we get 15 dust fans to put the facility to keep the dust down. With the other $50,000 that's left, with the board's approval, I'd like to take that money and put 7 fans in the ceiling to keep the dust flow down.
Anything to improve the environment for those folks.
oh, absolutely.
So, you know, we definitely, we'd take that last $50,000 out of that number. We didn't think we was gonna have the money to come up with the fans, but us negotiating these lights and working around these lights a little bit, and Richie's done a great job on it. He's the one deserves the credit for that, not I. He worked it out and found it and massaged it till he got it. You know, we, instead of putting in 140 lights, we put in 70, and the whole place is lit up,
By
you know.
utilizing the 7 fans for dust control, we shouldn't have to do a blow down as frequently as we.
That's right, that's right. And it'll keep it blowed down on a nightly basis. We'll turn it on to come on late at night. And they, you know, they have controls. If there was a fire, they cut off. And I'll try to put some in the next year's budget if I can get Jan to agree to it. Might not have the money to do it with, but at least I'll put it in there if we ever come up with any. We can put the additional ones in there, but put these 7 right over the top of the equipment, so it blows the walls down and keeps it off the equipment.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we allow him to take the $50,000 and spend it as he suggested.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Mr. Besant, you have your money.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think I really appreciate you and Rich and the other people there looking at this from the standpoint you did so that you could figure out how to do that and have the money left over to do what you did. Y'all have done a great job. Thank you.
Well, when you don't have any money and you don't have any lights, it makes you get out and search.
I would like to say this is a perfect example of management techniques, and Bo's read same material many times, and some of the more successful companies, their ideas about how to do things better they make sure that it comes directly from the floor first, from the people on the operating end, and they keep the people in the air-conditioned offices. You just stay away from this, and they you mentioned several times, well, this didn't work, but we tried it. Somebody down there that works for us said, why don't you do this? And frankly, a lot of times they're a lot smarter than, or got a better idea of what to do than the people that's getting the big bucks.
Yeah, and we also find out if the people come up with the solutions, they sort of try to make them work a little bit harder.
That's a good point.
Thank you.
Okay, we do not have an executive session,
Someone's behaving.
evidently, and I appreciate it. Unless we have any other discussion or anyone wants to bring anything up, we will accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved. We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you, everybody.
staff.